What's up, everybody? Subaru fan here for Mini Weekly Update number 24 on this Friday. So, what's new with the Mini? Well, nothing's new with the Mini, but I'm in a very good mood, obviously, because the fund editing campaign has reached its goal. A couple of days ago, thanks to a few very generous donors, it jumped up very quickly and reached the goal. So, we're at the base goal of, it's a little over 6,500 right now that we're at, and I'm just so thankful to you guys again for making this possible. It's literally you putting your dollars into this thing, and whether it's $1 or $300, you're helping out and making this happen, and it's going to benefit everybody, you know, with more entertaining videos, and it's going to be really exciting. So there's still some time left to donate if you want to get in on it and help support the 2015 Mustang EcoBoost. Then you definitely can still get in on it. Like I mentioned in the very beginning campaign video, the base goal was 6,500. That just ensured that I will be getting the Mustang. The next goal would be 8,500 for the performance package, and then it'd be 11 for the premium package. So those are the next goals, and then if it's 13, I think, then it's the premium and the performance package. And the trim levels are going to vary depending on, you know, how much money gets donated over the next few days, and also on what kind of deal I can get from the dealership. I'm going to try and, you know, say, hey, I'm going to be filming at your dealership and all that kind of stuff, and see if that's worth anything to someone. You know, if a dealership will give me, you know, some extra money, or, you know, be able to bring the price down aggressively to help me to get one of the nicer versions. Because although I would be very happy and very grateful with the base car, you know, it would be nice to have some of the nicer features of the higher trim levels. And my priority would be to go for the premium if at all possible. The performance package stuff, for the most part, if I feel the need to get that kind of stuff, I can always add that in the aftermarket. And from my test drive, the EcoBoost that I drove was not a performance package, and it was fine. I thought it handled well. You know, it was very good with the brakes and everything. I didn't feel a need for the performance package, but if I feel the need down the road, I can always add performance parts. The premium stuff is stuff that is a lot harder to add in the aftermarket, like adding the big touchscreen navigation, adding the heated seats, stuff like that. Those are the two things that I think I would miss. Every car that I've ever bought has had heated leather seats, and you know, that's something that obviously first world problems. It's just something I've been spoiled with. But all my cars I bought that, and that was a priority because I use my heated seats just about every day for 5 to 6 months here in Pittsburgh. It gets pretty cold in the winter time, and they're a nice thing to have. Again, not a necessity, but it definitely would be a nice thing to have. So I'm gonna try and, you know, talk to the dealer and see if I can find a way to at least do a premium. But if not, like I said, I'd be totally happy with a base, and that's totally cool. But so yeah, that's just what I'm thinking. And a lot of you have been asking as well, when will it come? So the way that it works is, you know, I'd have to place an order. So I'll hopefully be placing the order next week. And then from that point, it takes 6 to 8 weeks for it to arrive. Now, some people have gotten it earlier than that, a few people. Some people, it gets hung up in limbo and you're waiting for 3 or 4 months. So it's really hard to say. Unfortunately, there's no dealership within 3 states distance of me that have one even remotely close to what I want. It seems like a lot of dealers that are ordering stock are all ordering automatic transmission EcoBoost. Like, there's very few manual transmission EcoBoosts out there, and the guard color that I'm going to be ordering it in is also very rare. Not too many people order them. There's lots of reds, blue, white, all that kind of stuff, which gives me confidence that the color I chose is going to be a little bit more unique, but it just means that I can't find any anywhere. So probably going to have to just order it and wait. It's going to be a really tough wait, but I mean, at least I'll be missing out on some of the rough winter weather, and it'll show up maybe right around the new year or something. So excited to have that arrive. But yeah, so I mean, the Mini, thank God, is still holding up. It's okay. It's, you know, running well for now, and hopefully it continues to do that, and we'll be good. I mean, I know it is getting colder here, and another thing that I will be doing to the Mini soon is putting snow tires on it, because, you know, that's a necessity around here, basically. And so, and I have summer tires on here now. The summer tires are almost completely used up. That guy's flying by me. But what I realized was that the tires from the BRZ are the exact same size as the ones in the Mini. So I have my leftover winter tires from the BRZ BRZ that I hung on to, so I can put the BRZ winter tires onto this, and so that saves me some money, which is good, and I'll just continue to use those. But yeah, that's really the only new thing with the Mini. But so anyway, I'll keep this somewhat short, and I'll send it back to me at the news desk for this week's news. Right, for this week's news, the first thing is Subaru has teased a Forester STI concept, and it was actually shown already at a Japan car show meeting, gathering thing, and so there's a picture that Torque News has of the whole car, undisguised or anything, and it's just sitting there, so you can see that nice picture. But I mean, obviously, they also released these other teasers for people that haven't seen that image. So we already know what it looks like, but the teaser images are still cool. Shows you the wheels and the awesome LEDs that the headlights are going to have. And so no one knows what engine is going to be in this car yet, or even if it's going to be put into production. The things that are confirmed, though, is that it's going to have, obviously, the body kit on it, the blue paint. It's also going to have different wheels, upgraded brakes. Those are just things you can tell from the images. And obviously, it'll probably have some kind of upgraded suspension as well. The thing I'm worried about is that it's just going to be like the BRZ TS, where it just looks a little bit cooler, has slightly better suspension, and that's it. You know, and you know, which it's exciting, but it's still not as good as everyone wants more power. And so I think, you know, hopefully they'll come to their senses and put some kind of hotter motor in this than just the Forester XT engine. So yeah, it's interesting to see that. Torque News also reported that STI is considering becoming like an actual performance arm instead of just like a tuner house. They want to be like Nismo is for Nissan and do stuff like that, and make an STI version of every model. Now, I'm not sure how reliable that is, but that would be wonderful if they did do that and made an STI version of everything. Especially if they brought them all to America. It'd be amazing. I'm sure every Subaru fanboy out there would love it just as much as I would. So interesting to see that. I think the Forester is a hot enough seller, and with the Nismo Juke being such a pretty good seller here in the States, I think they can make a case for this in the States. So hopefully it comes. But yeah, it looks cool nonetheless. Next is some kind of crazy news, and that is that Fiat Chrysler announced this week that they're going to be spinning off Ferrari. Now, they're still going to own Ferrari, but they're going to do like a public IPO for it, and so it's going to, people can buy shares in Ferrari, and it's going to be a completely separate entity from the Chrysler Fiat group. So it's not going to be owned technically by them. It's not going to be under the same umbrella. So it's going to be independent. They'll be free to do things, the way they want to do it, and not have to answer to Fiat, which is kind of crazy. No one really expected this, and I mean, but Ferrari is worth so much money that, allowing people to come in and buy stock in Ferrari is going to give so much money to Fiat to help fund, better cars for all the other brands, and, bring cooler Dodges and stuff like that here to the States, and Alpha and all them. Hopefully that'll help them to come here. So I think it's going to be good. I'm a little nervous about the direction Ferrari's going to take after this, but I mean, it's still going to have the same management, same leadership. Should be, pretty much the same. But very interesting to hear that. And some other Fiat Chrysler news. They just showed off their whole lineup they're going to be bringing to SEMA, which is coming up here very soon, and that's all the tuner cars, of course, at that big show. It's in Las Vegas every year, and so they showed off a bunch of new models. The first one is a Challenger TA, which harkens back to the 70s. Challenger TA, same paint scheme with that stripe, and these actually also have the same intakes from the Hellcat, where it's in the headlight, and it has the different hood and the wheels, and it has a pistol grip shifter on the interior as well, just like the old ones from the 70s. Very cool to see that, and hopefully that actually becomes a production car. That'd be awesome to have a TA version. The next thing is they are also showing a Dodge Charger, the new one with a body kit and some slight tweaks to it. They're also showing a Dodge Dart that has coilover suspension, bigger brakes, and it's not the SRT4. That's still coming in a couple of years, but they haven't shown us that just yet. But this might kind of hint at what the styling could be like for the new SRT4 eventually. And then they also showed a new Dodge Viper ACR concept. It's just a concept for now, but basically it's the new ACR, which we all expected to come out eventually, and looks like that's what that's going to end up being. They also are going to be bringing some souped-up Jeeps and Dodge vans and things like that. They're going to do a 500L, the Fiat, and kind of put their own spin on that, put their spin on a Chrysler 200, stuff like that. So, it's cool to see all these different tuner cars, but it's exciting to see the Viper ACR and the Challenger and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, cool to see. And I'll be covering more SEMA stuff next week, I'm sure, whenever more cars are released. And Spy Shot of the Week probably goes to the new Cadillac ats-v Coupe that was spied. An Autoblog posted up with pictures, and it looks awesome in this white color. I mean, it looks it has the typical V treatment, but it just works really well on the ATS for some reason at the Coupe. It just looks sweet. They have a big spoiler on the back, like a big duckbill kind of spoiler, and the front looks so aggressive. It has kind of a Camaro or a, Corvette-inspired hood there with little vents in it, and just looks all kinds of awesome. When I first saw that picture, I was like, I want that. That looks awesome. They're saying it's going to have a twin-turbo V6. My guess it'll be the same one that's in the CTS V Sport, but just maybe tuned a little bit more. That's just my guess. But either way, it's going to be an amazing car. It obviously won't be as high-performing as the CTS V, but it'll still probably be a really fun car, and I'm sure it'll be a rocket. So very awesome to see that. In other Cadillac news, there was a report here saying that Cadillac dealers were actually shown a convertible rendering, and so I guess to kind of give people confidence in Cadillac and the dealers, they are expecting to hopefully be able to sell a convertible. People aren't sure where this convertible is going to come from, whether Cadillac's going to totally engineer it itself, or if it's going to be like the Buick convertible that's going to be coming soon, where it's just going to be an Opal that's rebadged and kind of a little bit nicer. I don't know if that's what they're going to use. It'll just be like the nicer Buick, or if they're actually going to do their own one-off kind of convertible on their own. That would be awesome as well. So yeah, exciting to see that. Even if it's just like an ATS coupe, convertible, that would be cool. So very exciting to see that. Last bit of Cadillac news is that the new SRX replacement, which is going to be called the XT5, was spied for the first time. And it looks like it's grown a little bit, and probably will have some bolder styling. Obviously, it's camouflage. You can't really see much about the design aspects, except that it is going to be a fairly large car. Not quite as big as the Escalade, but not far off. But cool to see that, and I'm sure we'll be seeing the production version soon. Right, and last week, I talked about the Scion IM concept, and, people are wondering about what it's going to be. There's just a couple teaser shots, but some people have put it together that it might just be a rebadged version of the Toyota Auris, which I think is a car that's just in Europe. We don't get it here in America. It looks very similar. The headlights match up almost exactly. Obviously, the Scion version, especially being a concept, is going to have a more aggressive body kit and crazy wheels and all that kind of stuff. But it looks like it might just be a jazzed up Auris, which is basically the Toyota Yaris here in the States, except with a hatchback. And yeah, basically it's going to be a successor to the XA or the XB and or the XD or whatever. One of those, it's just a hatchback, whatever. I was hoping for a cooler coupe or a real update to the TC instead of just, a refreshment every year they've done for the TC. But yeah, so most likely that's what it's going to be, womp womp. But yeah, still cool to see a new Scion model. In other small car news, Mazda confirmed they're going to be making a CX-3. So the CX-5 has been fairly popular, and that's their smaller crossover from the CX-7 and CX-9s, and they're going to do a CX-3, which, as we all know, this wildly popular subcompact SUV market is just exploding. Started with the Buick Encore, and now you have the Chevrolet Trax, which is the kind of stripper version of that, and then you also have all these other tiny little utes that are becoming ever more popular. And so Mazda's getting into the ring, and they released a teaser concept image, and it's obviously very spacey. It's not very realistic, but it just hints at what it's going to look like. And if it's anything like this drawing, then it's going to look spectacular and probably the best looking out of all of them, because they all kind of seem kind of shrunk and awkward in the way their proportions are, aside from the Buick Encore, which I think actually looks pretty nice. But all of them kind of seem a little bit awkward looking, the Nissan Juke and all that kind of stuff. This actually looks good, so they could really have something here. If it's just based on the Mazda 3, it's going to be spectacular, so excited to see more about that. While we're talking about crossovers and whatnot, BMW this week just debuted the BMW X5M and the X6M. which obviously, you know, we already had the new versions of the X5 and the X6 already come out, but now the M versions, which look slightly more aggressive in usual M form, nothing wild or crazy, unless you consider the X6M crazy just in its idea that it's, you know, a hatchback kind of design there, but it's very cool, and I think they both look great, and, you know, very impressive performance. Obviously, they're always rockets, and so very cool to see the new versions. Next is that Lotus just released a new Exige S with an automatic transmission that's available for the first time. They think it's really going to open up the market by, you know, offering an automatic transmission. Unfortunately, now, you know, the Lotus Exige isn't able to be imported into the United States because of our side impact crash regulations and things like that. So you can't get it here in America anymore, which is kind of sad. But for those of you in Europe, you now have an option to get an automatic in your Lotus. While we're talking about automatics and stuff, another car that's getting a new automatic is a Hyundai Veloster. It's getting facelifted for one. I'm not sure if it's going to be entirely new or if it's just going to be another facelift, but they're saying it's going to have a new 7-speed DCT, so it's going to be an actual dual-clutch transmission, and it's also going to have what they're calling flex steer, and I'm sure we'll find out more about that eventually, but it's camouflage, can't see too much about it just yet, but cool to see that it's going to be getting a proper dual-clutch here. It'll hopefully be faster than the current ones, and yeah, exciting to see that. Another awesome car, though, that was spied this week was the Mercedes CLA wagon, or shooting brake, or whatever they're going to call it. But there's no official announcement, but someone spied one out driving around. It has very little camouflage on it, so you can really, I mean, you know exactly how it's going to look. And so someone actually rendered it from car pics, rendered what it will look like, and my gosh, it is gorgeous. It's beautiful. Like, if I wanted a wagon, that is what I would buy. Done deal. End of story. No other thought required. So, yeah, Mercedes is just on a hot streak with the CLA, and I think this will make it even better. I know some people don't think wagons are cool and they'd rather have body cladding and, you know, 4 extra inches of ground clearance or whatever with these mini crossovers, but I think I would much rather have this sweet wagon. Hands down. Anyway, so awesome that Mercedes is offering that. Hopefully it's brought to America. If they have good sense, I'm sure they will. So excited to see that. Also, there's officially confirmed the new Audi R8. I mean, we saw spy pics recently of a more aggressive current generation R8, and it's officially coming to LA here very soon, and it's going to be called the R8 Competition. So basically, it has the motor out of the Superleggera, 570 horsepower, and you know, a few other slight revisions here and there. But you know, it basically looks like the GT version that they've already done. Has the updated headlights and all that kind of stuff, but yeah, it's cool to see one last hurrah here for the R8, and I think everyone's just excited for the new one, though. So, cool to see that, kind of a nice send-off to the old R8. And the last bit of news is there's another new hypercar that probably will never get produced. And it seems like every other week there's these new hypercars that claiming to have millions of horsepower and, you know, break the speed of sound with how fast they go and everything. I mean, normally they don't ever happen. But I thought this one kind of looked cool, and it actually might be a little more plausible. Sometimes I don't even report on them because they're just so far-fetched. This one, though, it's called the Treon Nemesis. It's going to be built in California, so an American-made product. They're saying 2,000 horsepower, and it's coming in 2016. We'll see if that happens, but they're saying, and if it does, it'll do 0 to 60 in 2.8 seconds and do 272 miles per hour, all that wonderful stuff. It'll also have $1 million price tag, which is no surprise if it ever gets made. But yeah, so it's cool to see that, and you know, I mean, it looks awesome, and we'll see what happens. So yeah, that's it for all the news this week, guys. So I'll send it back to me in the car. Alright, so I'll leave you guys with a nice little acceleration here, like I always do. Still a quick car. I wish this thing was reliable. I would just, you know, hang on to it for a little while longer, but yeah, not the case. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next week. Take care.